Hello everyone. Today we're going to be exploring some of the ways in which we can teach writing for a second language. But first, we're going to start with some of the theory about it. There have been always controversy regarding teaching writing. Some of that controversy still remain up to date. Here we have some examples of those issues. So the first one is composing versus writing. Writing is an entirely different way to communicate from speaking. And composing is much more complex than that. Composing focuses on how students generate ideas, how they use discourse markers, and how they put them cohesively in a text. So a composition requires more than just writing a text message or email a friend. It is a much more complex process. Then we have the process versus product. So in the past, teachers gave more attention to the product, just like submitting an essay, a paragraph, or a text. Now teachers became more aware of the process. The students need to learn new ideas and gain different insight when writing a composition. They can develop processes such as pre-writing, drafting, revising, and editing. With that, they can get more knowledge out of the process. Then we have the contrastive rhetoric. So it is normal when it comes to writing that students display certain predisposition toward it. In the past, they attributed that to the first language, but now they have discovered more factors such as the linguistic relativity, the theory of rhetoric, the text linguistic, discourse types of genres, literacy, and translation. So it is our duty as teachers to help a student reduce those factors so that they can enjoy the process of writing. There we also have differences between the L1 and the L2. That is the first language and the second language or the target language. So it was believed that L2 writers do less planning, that L2 writers are less fluent, that is, that they use few words because they have less lexicon or vocabulary words. And L2 writers were also believed to be less accurate, to commit more mistakes. Also, L2 writers are less effective in stating goals and organizing materials. So it is again our duty as teachers to help our L2 students to write in a better way, to embrace the writing in a better way. Then we also have the authenticity. So that is a real issue in teaching writing. That is the difficulty to conceive real writing. So writing for fun or writing for transmitting a message rather than writing just to get a grade. So we have content-based assignments in which a student have to write about a specific topic. So probably they don't like it, so they will not enjoy the process, and that will detriment the authentic writing, the real writing. So our role as teacher is to facilitate the writing, guide the writing all the time. It is also very important to respect our students' ideas. By doing that, we will have them more motivated to write. Objectivity is also a key element when revising, evaluating, and grading the writing of our students. We should always be objective and respect our students' points of view. Alright, now we have some characteristics of writing of written languages. The first one is the permanence. So after submitting the composition, the author, our student, loses the power of debate and discuss what he or she wrote. So after they submit what they wrote, they don't have the chance to back up their ideas. So the students should help students revive their work so they feel confident after handing it in. They should feel confident with what they wrote, with strong ideas and not allowing weak points. Another characteristic is the production time. So it is difficult to write with time limits, and it perhaps affects the creativity and willingness to write. However, it is important to make our students aware of the limit that they have when they are writing, because in a class they cannot spend too much time because they probably have other classes, right? So it is important to be aware of the time all the time. Then we also have the distance. That is the necessity that the learners have to anticipate their audience. So even though they cannot predict the reaction toward their composition, they should always take the audience into consideration. By doing that, they will adapt their writing so it is understandable to the target reader. Then we also have the orthography. So that is the accurate manipulation of letters and written symbols to convey a message. It is important for students to be highly aware of the language to write efficiently. They should know, of course, the different words, how they are spelled, in order for them to not commit mistakes. We also have the complexity. So that is the acknowledgement of much more complex aspects of the language. In those aspects, the students should avoid redundancy, they should combine the sentences, link them coherently. By doing that, they will get the message across as smoothly as possible. We also have vocabulary. They should be aware of it, of the vocabulary of the language in which they are writing, of course. And we also have formality. So they should write in a formal way, respecting the audience all the time, because they don't know their audience beliefs or their reaction toward the writing. Now we have the types of classroom performance. There are 5 major categories of classroom writing performance. The first one is the imitative or writing down. So at the beginning level of learning to write, the students will simply write down English letters, words, and possibly sentences. A good way to do that is by dictation. Teachers can dictate small words, phrases, chunks, or even sentences for students to write them down. So that is the imitative. They are not creating, they're just imitating what you are telling them. Then we have the intensive or controlled. So this type of writing does not allow much creativity on the part of the writer. This type of writing typically appears in controlled written grammar exercises that we can apply in class. Examples of these are guided writing and compositions or dictated compositions, what it is called dicto compo. Then we have the self-writing. This type of writing uses the writer's mind as an audience. So the mind of the student is the audience. They're writing for themselves. An example of this is writing journals. We can have students write journals about specific topics or about their preferred topics. We also have display writing. This type of writing is developed within the school curricula context as a way of life for students to write. Examples of this type of writing are short answer exercises, essay examinations, and research reports. And finally, the one that we want to achieve, the one that all the writing process aims, is the real writing. So in the real writing, students communicate their thoughts. They communicate their ideas, their points of view, their general cosmovision throughout writing. They are expressing themselves by means of writing. It is very important for teachers to achieve this, to have the students write, not only to hand in an essay or a paragraph, but just to express their thoughts and ideas. Then we have some principles of writing, principles of designing writing techniques that are very important for us as teachers to follow. The first principle is to incorporate practices of good writers. Reading from good writers will help the students become better writers. They should take them as models when they are writing. So it is very important to inculcate the art of reading. There should also be a balanced process and product. So the process is as important as the final product. It's not only writing to accomplish a task, that's it, hand in the report, hand in the project, hand in the essay. No, it's writing for learning and becoming better in writing, to develop processes as pre-writing, editing, proofreading. All of that will students make better. Then we also have an account for cultural literacy and background. So we have to make sure that students' technique do not assume that they know the rhetorical conventions. They should take always into consideration all the different aspects involved in teaching writing. We also have to connect reading and writing. So they always go hand by hand. By motivating students' awareness of reading, they will boost their writing ability. The most they read, the better they will write. They always go hand by hand. We also have to provide as much authentic writing as possible. By doing that, we would make our students proud of their beliefs, their points of view, and a way of doing that is respecting their thoughts, respecting their beliefs. So they will feel motivated to write about them and demonstrate their insights by means of writing. Again, objectivity is a key element. We should always respect our students' belief, never put them aside. Okay, so that would be